So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. iPad Air 3 full review. This is a third generation 64GB Wi-Fi model. I want to get the key specs out of the way. You get a 10.5-inch display here that's 2224 by 1668, which gives you a total PPI of around 265 pixels per inch. Now you have an 8-megapixel camera on the rear of this iPad Air that doesn't have no flash, as you can see right there, and we do have a front-facing camera that comes in at 7 megapixels on the front of this guy. It's up here at the top. Now you do have iOS 12.2 right out of the box, and this comes in 64 or 256 gigabyte capacities. This also gives you 3 gigabytes of RAM and the show-stopping feature, the A12 Bionic chipset. So for those of you who want cutting-edge processing performance, the iPad Air 3 is going to give you that. Pricing really quickly, $499 for this baby, which is a sweet spot. It's kind of like where iPads always used to be at the $499 price point. Going up to 256 gig is going to run you $649, and if you want to go cellular, now you're starting to go up in the price point. The Wi-Fi cellular model, 64 gigabyte, $629 just to get this thing. Then for the 256 gigabyte Wi-Fi cellular model, it's going to run you $779. So you're going to pay substantially more, but still substantially less than a cellular model iPad Pro. Okay, so let's start out with design. So first of all, the first thing I thought immediately when I pulled this out of the box was, wow, this thing is like exactly like the iPad Pro 10.5. It looks identical, looks pretty much the same. But then I noticed it felt a little bit lighter because it is. It's got Air in the name. It's 1.01 pounds. So not a featherweight, but not as heavy as the 1.03 pound iPad Pro 10.5. So you shave off just 0.2 pounds. It's really minor. Back doesn't give you a flash, so the camera, just a really tiny hole, but overall the space gray is a little bit darker as well than I've seen before. Aluminum slab here, big front glass here on the front of the device. Looks just like the older iPads with the home button. So when it comes to design, if you like classic old iPad, you'll be just fine with this one, and just over a pound. This thing is super light to throw in a backpack. You should also note that you get the smart connector with this one. This is an advantage over the iPad mini because you do have the ability to put smart covers on here, smart keyboards, things like that. The iPad mini doesn't give you that smart connector there. Very strong magnet here for the iPad Air 3 here. So I was going to call it a Pro because it just looks so similar and I keep getting them confused. But at the bottom, you're going to see your 2 speakers here, your stereo sound, and they do sound good, just not having 4 just doesn't sound the best. At the top, you do see that headphone jack, which is always nice. The new iPad Pros did get rid of that. So for everyone getting an iPad Air, you will get your headphone jack. On the whole, the design, like I say, it's good. If you like classic old iPad, you'll still like it. It's just nothing innovative or groundbreaking, to be quite honest. The smart connector, it's just super strong. So look at this. We're going to pull this iPad away. We'll spin it around. And if I drop it, oh well. But the thing is I'm not going to drop it. That's why I have no worries about dropping this thing. You can just see the strength of this iPad smart connector is just out of this world right here. So let's talk about the display. This thing gives you 265 PPI. A new for iPad Air thing is the DCI-P3 wide color gamut. So you have really punchy greens, really punchy reds, and you're gonna have just better colors than you ever had before. Let's go to photos here and take a look at this photo example. Here's some apples right here. Yes, this was intended because it's an Apple product, so I picked an Apple picture if you were thinking that. But you can just see very crispy detail here. LCD panel though, so no longer is the iPad like the only good display. The Tab S5e is gonna have a AMOLED display, so that probably will be a little bit more vibrant, but still, it's a very good display. It gets very bright here, has True Tone on board, night shift. Really overall, it's just classic iPad LCD, and it has True Tone. Other than that, it's still what you've come to be used to with an iPad, an excellent display here. I drew a tomato earlier and just look at those reds and look at those greens. They look fantastic. But being an iPad, it's still a 4:3 aspect ratio. So when watching videos or movies on here, you're still gonna get black bars on the top or bottom. Is this a deal breaker? Absolutely not. If you've had an iPad before, you're used to it, and then you're gonna be fine with it here. With this iPad, the software is gonna give you iOS 12.2 at the initial launch phase. You might be at a different version by the time you're watching this video, depending on when you're watching it, but as of the recording of this video, iPad software to me is definitely better to use than iPhone software. And that's because you have the ability to go ahead and multitask, put things off to the side and get some work done on this thing. Now, I say some because this thing cannot run desktop grade applications. If you want Windows or Mac OS, you're gonna have to look elsewhere. You're still getting mobile applications, but I'm finding it way more productive than older iPads. In the dock, you can populate it with more applications. It also shows you recent applications you were using right here. And with the Apple Pencil, it can act as like your little mouse for this tablet. You have the landscape mode, which not all iPhones give you. So overall, you get plenty of productivity you can do on this device, but still, I want to see more of an iPad-centric only operating system. I hope Apple does something with iOS 13 or brings an iPad only, maybe iPad OS or something like that, and just add a little bit more. It just seems still a little bit too mobile. You do get a very solid, reliable experience that's going to give you plenty of productivity out of an iPad. I do like the software for it. Gestures work fine. It's smooth, it's fast, it's iOS. You know what to expect. It's going to be a decent experience with software updates coming very, very frequently. Okay, so talking about performance, Apple A12 Bionic chipset, 3 gigabytes of RAM, which is down from the Pros, which usually give you around 4 to 6. This one is down on the RAM, but that's not going to really bring this tablet down because 3 gigs of RAM is plenty for iOS, which runs super efficient, especially having the power of the A12 Bionic chipset, which is just insanely fast. You can see it right here in these scores, pushing over 11,000 on the multi-core. Not only that, you do get even better GPU than before, 4-core graphics on this GPU for excellent gaming performance. And I have played a few games here already, and they run super smooth for this device. We're at a point now where performance is so powerful that it's being underutilized by the device, meaning that you probably can't even do enough to make this thing even break a sweat. Has anybody really ever been complaining about the performance on an iPad? Because I cannot remember anyone ever saying my iPad was slow. I can think back all the way to the days of the iPad 2, even the original iPad, and all of them have run well. The iPad just doesn't take advantage of all the CPU power. Okay, so let's talk about the cameras. I got these Juji fruits in here because they got a lot of color. It has the same software as pretty much the other iPads. Now, one thing I will note is that you don't get 4K video recording here. We go to record video only up to 30 FPS, which is disappointing. We didn't even get, come on Apple, we can't even get 60 FPS here for $500. But anyway, it's still an iPad, so you're probably not going to be taking photos often or video often. But if you do, you definitely want to look at the Pro devices. They give you the way better cameras. So Apple is definitely saving its fancy features for its fancy price tag products, which is Pro line. Now you also have a 7 megapixel front facing camera. Over here on the front, I was covering it up there with my thumb, and that's f2.2. So what I gotta say is the photos are gonna suffice for around the house. You know, you need a quick picture of a document, stuff like that, but these are not gonna be the photos you wanna take for your absolute best memories, the sharpest detail. Here's a picture of some Mamba candy right here, and as I get closer, you can actually see a lot of grain and noise in the actual picture. So this is where you'll see big differences on better cameras. You won't see that noise and grain, but this is not a big deal if you're not zooming in too far. Here's some pictures of some artificial flowers I do have here, and you can see the detail is okay. I mean, this is not a bad looking photo. Is it the best thing in the world? Absolutely not, but still, you'll get by. You'll be just fine. So the Apple Pencil, while a lot of people feel like it's disappointing they bought first gen, I actually think it's okay because considering the price point, the Apple Pencil first gen is actually cheaper than the second gen. Also, you can find it used on eBay for ridiculously cheaper than Apple stores. So you can find it like $60. Some people are even selling them for 50. Just look online. The Apple Pencil 1 also gives you very precise accuracy as well. And no matter what you're doing, I think you're gonna be fine with this one. Now, if you're a serious artist, then you might wanna take a look at the Pro line. And it's nice that pretty much every iPad now supports Apple Pencil in some sort of fashion. And even people that are serious about art can still get some serious work done. It's not like this thing wasn't accurate. The Apple Pencil 2 just got more accurate. Okay, so let's discuss the audio. Again, we have the 2 speakers at the bottom. We have the headphone jack at the top, and I think it's on this side right here. Yes, over there. They sound very loud. So let me go ahead and play some.
So if you look at a bunch of Windows tablets like the Surface line, if you put that thing in portrait,
they're very loud. You're gonna have no problem with how loud these things get. But if you are gaming or something, you might cover it, muffle it just a little bit, but having two makes that unlikely to happen. I think the audio is a thumbs up here. Even over the Pro, you get a headphone jack. You have that benefit. I actually like the audio. It's just fine, especially because they made both these speakers very loud. So battery life is 10 hours. It's rated at that, and it gets around that. I was actually pushing more like 11 already with this thing. I would definitely like to see improvements here, even though it's already really good. Let's go for 15 hours. You're still getting 10, which is plenty enough for most people. Okay, so the review is basically over. I want to give my personal opinion. First of all, this review was very easy to make because the iPad doesn't really innovate, and when there's no innovation, there's not much more to learn about this new product. I'm seeing a lot of people online just not very excited about these new iPads. At the end of the day, am I impressed by this product? No. Am I happy it exists? Yes, and that's because it gives people an option that's much cheaper than the iPad Pro, but gives you almost like an iPad Pro. So it's good for the general consumer. But for the tech enthusiast, I still think you'll be much happier with something like an iPad Pro. Anyway, that's it for me. Are you picking up this new iPad Air? Did you already do so? Do you got one on pre-order? Let us know your experience down below. Enjoy your iPad if you did get one. I got some videos coming on, some comparisons with these, the ones I'm sure you really want to see. And subscribe for more. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Thank you very much for watching. Always appreciated. I'm very grateful for that. And I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.